We've got major news on the Pitt basketball front. A Pitt basketball player is going to wear number 7 this year. Can you believe that? I don't think we're going to have enough time to talk about what that means for the Panthers and get into all the ramifications of such a move. I can't believe it. I mean, there was also stuff about the transfer portal and guys they were trying to get and they missed out on and all that. I guess we could talk about that as well. But number 7, can you believe it? We'll talk about that and a lot of basketball topics on today's Morning Pitt on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. So, yeah, number 7. Somebody's wearing number 7. I miss when they changed the rule on this. I did. Apparently it was in January. The NCAA passed the rule that basketball players, college basketball players, can wear any number from 0 to 99. Who knew? I mean, I guess people who were paying attention knew, but I was just reading. It was like January, or no, it was June. It was June. This was like last month. Okay, this makes sense of why I missed this. It was June 9th, so it was right in the heart of football official visits, and there are probably a lot of things. My wife probably has a list of things that I missed during those weeks of those official visits. But this one was a month ago. A month and change, or just a few days shy of a month ago, the NCAA approved that players could wear 0 to 99, and Pitt basketball taking advantage of it right off the bat. Carlton Carrington, Pitt's incoming freshman. I mean, he's not even incoming anymore. He's already arrived. Freshman 4-star shooting guard. I guess we wouldn't even call him a 4-star anymore because now he's at Pitt. He's not a recruit anymore. He's not a prospect. But he's going to wear number 7 for Pitt. They announced a bunch of jersey numbers yesterday. Just kind of scrolling through it here. Forward center. Freshman center Papa Conte is going to wear number 4. Transfer guard Ishmael Leggett from Rhode Island is going to wear number 5. Carlton Carrington, like I said, is going to wear number 7. Marlon Barnes, the freshman, will wear 11. Walk-on from Braddock Hills, Pennsylvania, Benjamin Mayhew is going to wear number 13. Jalen Lowe, the other 4-star guard, incoming, is going to wear number 15. See what else? I thought there was one more. Zach Austin. Yeah, Zach Austin, transfer from High Point, is going to wear number 55. So jersey numbers announced yesterday. Pitt put them out, put them on the official website, and so that news is out there. But the biggest news is Carlton Carrington wearing number 7. I can't believe it. How are they going to signal that? I guess they're never going to call fouls on him. I mean, that's all I can assume. I mean, unless there's a 7-fingered referee, or a referee who's got 7 fingers on one hand, something like that, you can't call a foul because they're only allowed to, it's going to be very confusing for the scorer's table. Except the referees also say it. They say 11, or 22, or 42, or whatever, They say it out loud, so the guys at the scorer's table hear it as well. They might say 7, and as long as there's nobody who's 52 on the court, and as long as Guillermo Diaz-Graham at 25 is not on the court, they shouldn't have any issues. But it's been a long time coming for college basketball. I don't think it was ever really an issue, but it also was an unnecessary rule that they didn't need to stick to for as long as they did, of sticking, only having numbers 1 through 5 and 0. But now it's changed, and Carlton Carrington, the first Pitt Panther to take advantage of that. This is the Morning Pitt, of course, on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. I didn't even tell you what the show is. I mean, you've gone through like 4.5 minutes of this video, and you have no idea what's going on, or who I am, or what this website is, or what we're doing here. It's the Morning Pitt. It's your start to the day with a little bit of Pitt sports talk. We do it every day here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, which is a video home of Panther-Lair.com, the most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet. Football, basketball, and recruiting, we cover it all at Panther-Lair.com. And we have message boards where you can interact with hundreds and thousands of other Pitt fans all day, every day, Panther-Lair.com. If you're a Pitt fan, you want to stay up on the latest Pitt news, you want to talk to other Pitt fans, go check out the site Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com to never miss any of it. And then our YouTube channel here, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video and subscribe is what we always ask you to do, and that way you'll never miss any of our Pitt video content. Morning Pitt videos like we put out here every day, Monday through Friday, or the live Panther-Lair show like we did last night. Me and Jim Hammett get together and talk every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. right here at youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. We talk about whatever's going on in Pitt sports. We did it last night. We do it every Wednesday night at 8:30, and we like having you join. You don't want to miss it. You want to make sure you're on top of it. So you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you won't miss any of our live shows or any of our video content. So make sure you do that. Like this video and subscribe. No, the biggest news basketball-wise in the last couple days for Pitt is not about Carlton Carrington wearing number 7. I did notice there's an experimental rule for this season that I think any interested conference can use it. Is sort of my read on the little blurb that I read that, and I'll just touch on this briefly, that in the second half of a game, they're changing, or an experimental rule optional for the conferences to change the media timeout format. They traditionally went, every 4 minutes. So under 16, under 12, under 8, under 4, they would have, first dead ball after each of those points on the clock passed, they would take a media timeout. And I always used to joke to Jerry DePaula, Jerry, did you call the media timeout? Who called the media timeout? Jerry, did you call it? And Jerry never, at least he never told me that he called it, but he might have called it a few times. But now this experimental format is looking at having 5 in the second half, doing it under 17, under 14, under 11, under 8, and then under 4. So, it sort of feels to me like it's going to drag the game out a little bit longer. Apparently, during a dead ball, they're going to review goaltending if they feel like they need to, goaltending or basket interference during the next media timeout. So that's not going to stretch things out. But if you have a 5th media timeout, a 5th commercial break in the second half, that's going to stretch things out a little bit. And we'll see if the ACC, I don't know if the ACC would adopt it or if they have the option to, or how exactly that's going to move forward. Like I say, I just read about this yesterday, so I'm not up on all the implications, but that was the other one that stood out to me. There's other rules that they passed. They're going to try and limit charges. Good luck with that. Retrain the officials on what to charge and how to call a charge and when to call a charge. We'll see. There's, not a whole lot of other exciting stuff. An optional rule allows for a preloaded or live video to be transmitted to the bench area, which has been an experimental rule for the last 2 years. We'll see if Pitt, or if the ACC decides to do that. I guess that could be interesting. More iPads on the bench would be what we would see from that. 3 flagrant 1 fouls. The player gets disqualified from the game. The other one, I thought this was slightly interesting, but players called for a foul. And then if it's the direct result of a flagrant 1 or flagrant 2, the officials can remove the foul on the player who was flagrantly fouled. So if you get hacked or some kind of flagrant foul, and I don't know if you react, if you respond, or maybe if it causes you to foul someone else or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how that'll work. That'll be interesting to see the way it's implemented, but we'll probably pay more attention to that, 6 months from now or 4 months from now. We'll kind of see that in action. But ultimately, the real news as far as Pitt basketball is not Carlton Carrington wearing number 7, although that's notable. These New Jersey numbers are always notable. It's really about transfer portal movement. And 2 more targets that Pitt was after came off the board, not yesterday, but actually on Tuesday, on the 4th of July. We didn't get a chance to talk about him yesterday. It was wide receiver preview day. But they both came off the board, and not to Pitt. Paul Mulcahy from Rutgers is going to Washington, and Joe Toussaint from West Virginia is going to Texas Tech. 2 guys that Pitt was involved with, 2 guys that Pitt had reached out to, 2 guys that we saw Pitt's name sort of affiliated with. I think Toussaint even came in for a visit 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And again, they get away. And they probably get away for a variety of reasons. Pitt sitting with that last scholarship left to fill. I think anytime there's someone like these guys that pops up, and there's even a few other names that have been connected with Pitt, it catches the attention of Pitt fans. Pitt fans want to know, they're going to get this guy to fill the last spot. That could really be, that would be a great addition to the team. And I guess I've resigned myself, and I shouldn't say I have resigned myself. I should say I did resign myself quite some time ago, weeks, maybe a month or more, to just sort of being convinced that whatever they do with this last scholarship is probably not going to be a big impact player. And I could be completely wrong. Look, the West Virginia situation, the way it developed and unfolded, presented a huge opportunity, I think, for Pitt to get an impact player. You know, where you had this sort of mini exodus of guys leaving West Virginia in the event, in the aftermath of Bob Huggins' dismissal / retirement / resignation, whatever you want to call it. And so there was sort of a unique opportunity there, and that was basically what Pitt needed, was a unique situation like that, where all of a sudden a bunch of really good players would come onto the market, and maybe there were fewer spots available, maybe there were fewer teams that were going to be able to pursue them, because most teams, or a lot of teams, have already filled their rosters. So that, okay, that might really be a situation that works, like a Joe Toussaint. That might be the kind of guy they can get, where maybe they sneak in and, almost in a different way, but sort of the same feeling of Dior Johnson falling into their lap last summer. Hey, look what they ended up getting, just through the circumstances of the situation and how it kind of unfolded. So you thought maybe that was an opportunity for that to happen, but then, Texas Tech felt that same way. Kansas State felt that same way, and a bunch of other schools too. Mulcahy, kind of the same thing. Oh, here's this guy who's somehow available, by one way or another, is available late in the process, and you got a chance, These are guys that probably you would not have had a chance with if they had gone into the portal mid-April, or May 1st. It doesn't seem like they probably would have been all that interested in Pitt. I mean, we saw Pitt still involved with different guys over that month and a half or so, after they effectively filled most of the roster, when they got Ish Leggett and what's his name, Zach Austin and Papa Conte. Once they sort of got those guys and ended up with 11, 12 scholarships accounted for, they would be connected to guys. They reached out to guys, but they were never really that close on landing them. From everything we could read and perceive and everything we were told. And so, like I say, I mean, I would say in May or late May, I kind of convinced myself, like, they're probably, whatever happens with this 13th scholarship, I don't really see it being like a big impact player. I'm still of the mind, and I've said this for a while, and I'll be the first to admit that I'm wrong if it ends up going a different way, but I'm still of the mind that the guys who are going to contribute to this team, the guys who are going to make up this team's 8 deep, 9 deep, 10 deep, 8 deep, 9 deep, 10 deep, whatever it ends up being, the guys who are on the box score every night are already on the roster. And it's not even going to be all 12 that are already on the roster of the scholarship guys. But the ones who are going to contribute to this team, the ones who are going to lead this team, the ones who are going to lead this team in scoring and rebounding and shooting and three-point shooting and free throw, all the assists, all those things, those guys are already on the roster. I've got them written down right there. And that's who's going to be it. And I think Pitt fans keep holding out hope for that last piece that comes in and is just, oh, that's that stud they needed, who's going to be, the point guard, the star point guard who's a 3-year starter at his old school, and he's going to come in and, he's going to be Nelly Cummings, but even better. I don't want to sit here and say that's not going to happen, because I learned a long time ago, you never say never, but it seems highly, highly unlikely that an event like that could come to pass. And you would need an incredibly unique situation in a lot of circumstances to break your way for that to happen. And I mean, we've had conversations off and on about this on the message boards over the last 2 months, where I say, I just don't think they're going to get a guy like this. And Pitt fans will say, yeah, but they can offer this and they can offer that. And I'll say, if you're a guard right now, again, and I don't want to, I'm repeating myself here because I've said it a bunch of times. I don't want to go too far down this again or waste too much time saying it again. But if you're a guard, you're looking at the situation. And you can hear everything from Jeff Capel and Milan Brown and Tim O'Toole and Jason Capel and whoever else is trying to sell you how attractive of a situation Pitt has. But then you're going to look at the roster and you're going to see Dior Johnson and be like, Coach, I know that guy. I mean, we weren't best friends, but I know him. I know of him. I've watched him. I know who he is. Jalen Lowe, I can look that guy up. Carlton Carrington, I can look that guy up. Ish Leggett, you already brought him in. Zach Austin, you brought him in. Coach, I'm looking at all your perimeter spots, and I'm saying, you want me? I want 30 minutes. I want 28 minutes. And I'm sorry, coach, but I'm not seeing how you're going to get that for me. I'm not seeing how I'm going to fit in with this group. Like, not personality-wise, but just minute-wise. I'm not looking to go and be Dior Johnson's, backup. I'm not looking to go and split the 40 minutes with Dior and Jalen Lowe. I'm looking to be the man. I'm looking to play minutes like Nelly Cummings played last year. And you can't promise me that. And the coaches can try. I mean, they can try and convince them that there's a way for it to all work out. And maybe there is a way to make the math work. But I think it's a tough sell. And that's the phrase that I keep coming back to, and I've kept coming back to time after time after time. When we've talked about these transfers, that it's just a tough sell. It's not an impossible sell. Eventually, they'll find somebody who wants to take the 13th scholarship, even if it's one of the walk-ons on the roster. It's not an impossible sell, even to get a quality veteran guard. But I think it's a tough sell. I keep coming back to like Sidney Nadir. Like you need a guy who's willing to have that kind of role. Coming off the bench, not being the leader of anything, not being the guy that's counted on to make plays, not being the guy that's counted on to score points, just a role player. And that's a hard sell. It's a really tough sell. But here's the other part of it too. All right? And this part, I don't know. I mean, fans always want to keep adding more. Fans always want good players. I mean, we see this on the football recruiting side where Pitt just had a really good June, but because the best things that happened early in June, and then the end of June wasn't as good as the beginning of June, it feels like the whole thing fizzled out and wasn't all that great to begin with. When they're ignoring the fact that actually good things happened, and staff did a really good job recruiting, and it was a really productive, successful month. Well, there's some of that with basketball too, that I think this was an offseason, a successful offseason for Jeff Capel. I mean, when you look at what he brought to the roster, from the high school ranks, he got 2 4-star guards. From the transfer portal, he got 2 guys who I think are veteran, productive players who fit really well with this team. Leggett and Austin both bring rebounding and good shooting. Austin is an explosive athlete. They're different kind of players than what Pitt had last year, and I think that makes Pitt really interesting with those guys added into the mix. He kept Dior Johnson on the roster. He got Blake Hinson back. I mean, by almost, and he added Papa Conte out of nowhere late in the process. By almost every account, this was a really successful offseason for Pitt, but all the action happened really early. They got Leggett and Austin really early in the process, and then pretty much nothing for the past 2.5 months, 3 months, or whatever it's been. And when you go that long, when you have all your success at the beginning and you don't have as much success over the next 2 months, even though you may or may not actually need it, it sort of feels like, it's just fizzled out. There was a comment on Facebook, Capel whiffed again. I don't know if that was said tongue-in-cheek or not. I hope it was, but I've been on social media long enough to know it probably wasn't. I mean, yeah, Jeff Capel and the staff, they missed on Joe Toussaint. They missed on Paul Mulcahy. They missed on this guy and that guy. You can run down the list, and we've been running down the list for the last 2.5 months. But they got guys that they wanted, and they pretty much filled the roster. They filled the roster. And if you go out there and you're 10 deep is Dior Johnson and Jalen Lowe, Ishmael Leggett and Carlton Carrington, Zach Austin and, TBD on the backup 3, Blake Hinson and Jorge Diaz-Graham, and Federico and Guillermo Diaz-Graham, and you're still looking at Marlon Barnes and Papa Conte and Will Jeffress out there. I mean, I'll take that roster. I like how it looks. I like how it projects, and I like how it seems like those guys will fit together. So much of it's going to come down, and this was the Morning Pitt mailbag last week, I think it was. Somebody asked me, what's the key for Pitt to have the success, continue on the success they had from a year ago? And I said it's Dior. I mean, it's all Dior. Dior is the one who's going to make this either happen or not happen. He's the key to this whole thing. And if he's good, they're going to be good. And if he struggles, they're going to have to find some other answers. I'm optimistic about how he can fit in, how he'll contribute, and how he'll play. I am. And I'm expecting a really good year from Blake Hinson. I expect the the triplets or whatever they call themselves, the Diaz-Graham twins and Federico, I expect them all to take a step forward. And I think the transfers will fit in well. I think Lowe and Carrington will be ready to play as freshmen. I think this is a good roster. I think it's a roster that can compete for the ACC again. Will they get as close to winning the ACC? Will they be in first place heading into the final week of the season? Again, I don't know. Probably not. But I think they can be a top 6 team, a top 4 team maybe, if a couple things go right. But I think definitely they can be a top 6 team in the conference, which is a pretty good place to be. It should give them a pretty decent shot at making the NCAA tournament with a few key wins and avoiding some bad losses. So I think it's a good roster. I don't have that sort of, I don't have that natural that reflex that a lot of Pitt fans have. I think of every time there's a new transfer available. Oh, maybe Pitt could get him. Maybe they could. Not sure if they need to. If they can land another guy, great. I think it's going to be tough to land the kind of impact player you're looking for, and I think they'll be okay even if they don't. But we'll see. All I know is Carlton Carrington's wearing number 7. This is a game changer. Absolute game changer. Thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. And of course, go check out the webpage, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com. We get the Morning Pitt mailbag tomorrow, so if you're a premium subscriber on Panther-Lair.com, head over to the Between Fifth and Forbes message board and post your question in the comments there, or in the thread, the mailbag thread that I started a couple days ago. Put your comments in there, and we will answer as many questions as we can tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope you've had a great week so far. Hope your Thursday goes well, and we will catch up with you tomorrow for the Morning Pit on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.